Alright, what is going on guys? Gino checking back in for another video today. I've been doing a lot of Instagram Q&A sessions where I just let you guys ask any question regarding whatever topic regarding fitness. Siri keeps...
Daar hoef ik geen antwoord op te geven. Is er iets anders waarmee ik je kan helpen?
I hope this doesn't become a weekly thing. Anyway, and I really enjoyed going in depth on all of the answers, and from the responses that I got from all of you, you guys seem to be enjoying it very much as well, but there's only so much you can cover in an Instagram story. You can only get so much text, you can only go so much in depth until it becomes very hard to understand. So I figured it'd be nice to just make a Q&A on YouTube so that I can go very much in depth on every single question that you guys leave me. So if you guys want to leave any question regarding any topic, whether it be bodybuilding related, nutrition related, or lifestyle, or whatever topic you want, be sure to follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Gino Brouwers, because that is where you'll be able to leave your questions. Alright, so without further ado, let's hop on to the first question of the Q&A. Thoughts on water intake? Does it affect performance, and how much or how little should you drink? It's actually a pretty good question. Water influences your performance pretty drastically. I always take a very simple example to this. If you were to be a car or a machine or whatever, and nutrition is your fuel, then water is your oil. Now, if you don't have enough water, if you don't have enough oil, then it won't really work as properly as it would if you were to have enough oil or water. In our case, the food that we eat or the nutrition that we put into our body will be transported or get transported with the water that we take in. And it's also especially important for those who train in the morning. You have to think of it logically. Like if you've been sleeping for 6, 7 or 8 hours, or maybe 9 if you sleep very well, you're pretty much in a dehydrated state. And if you train pretty close to waking up, then it's most likely a pretty smart idea to get at least around a liter of water in, or just chuck a shaker bottle of water, as I do every morning, before you head to the gym, so that you're simply hydrated enough. Our muscle cells, or our muscles in general, are made up of, what is it, like 70% of water? So it's pretty logical to at least make an effort to get enough water in, so that the muscle cells are hydrated enough to do the work that needs to be done in the gym and actually perform well. So my thoughts: drink a lot of water. What do you think is the best arm workout? Now, in my opinion, there are a couple of exercises that you need to do that take care of the muscle function and the biomechanics. So for example, you have certain heads of as well the biceps and the triceps. So for the long head, we need to put our shoulder in a flexed position, so quote unquote overhead. So we need to pick exercises that put our arm or our triceps in that position to optimally and effectively stretch and contract. So a good exercise for the long head would be any type of exercise that, flexes the shoulder as well and keeps the shoulder in a flexed position. So things as skull crushers or overhead extensions. The shoulder will be and remain in a flexed position, and that enables the long head of the tricep to optimally and effectively stretch and contract. So you have to pick an exercise for that, and my personal favorite is simply a cable overhead extension. And then for the lateral head of the tricep, I simply pick rope extensions or any kind of tricep press down movement that allows me to really squeeze the lateral head of the tricep. Since our shoulder doesn't really have to be in a flexed position to make that possible, you simply need to extend the elbow in order to shorten the lateral head of the tricep. Now for biceps, just think in functions and biomechanics as well. We need to flex the elbow in order to shorten the bicep as maximally as we can. So pick either a supinating dumbbell curl or a supinated dumbbell curl or barbell curl, whatever your preference is. And then to target the brachialis, which is on the outside of the bicep and in between the tricep and the bicep, simply pick a hammer curl variant. It's not rocket science, guys. Just think in muscle function and biomechanics, and then pick the exercises that allow you to overload the exercise and overload the muscle as maximally and effectively as you can, and that feel good for you. What is your workout schedule throughout the week? Now, I currently have 3 upper body sessions and 2 lower body sessions. I have a bench press focused session on Monday, squat focused lower body session on Tuesday, Wednesday is my off day, Thursday is my overhead press session focused upper body workout, that's a mouthful. Then on Friday I have a Romanian deadlift focused lower body session, and then on Saturday I have a upper body session that pretty much just allows me to reach my volume threshold for the week on all of my upper body movements. And then on Sunday I have another off day. Is it bad to have a lot of sugar-free substitutes like sucralose and all of the other sweeteners? Everything in moderation. Like, it's not necessarily good for you, it's not necessarily bad for you as well. since we need to take a lot of sucralose, a lot of sweeteners to actually get the negative side effects from taking in too much artificial sweeteners. But you have to be mindful with how you feel after taking it in, and also take in mind how your digestion reacts to the sucralose or the artificial sweeteners. For example, I noticed that during my prep, when I was using a lot of artificial sweeteners, I was gassed up like crazy. And then I looked it up on Google, and it turns out that eating or getting in too much artificial sweeteners can cause some digestive issues or bloating. So when I stopped taking in too much artificial sweeteners, I actually noticed that the bloating and the gas or the excessive gas pretty much vanished. So it's not necessarily that it's bad for you. It definitely doesn't have an impact on your results in the gym when it comes to fat loss or muscle gain. But just keep in mind how you feel after taking it in, and especially when you do it excessively, and just be mindful that you do it in moderation, as with everything else. What is the difference between whey isolate and whey concentrate? I think it's pretty much potato. Yes, isolate or concentrate might digest a little bit faster and it might get in your system a little bit quicker, but it would make such a little difference, right? Especially during a mass gaining phase or a bulking phase, it is the goal to maximize your muscle protein synthetic response by spreading your protein feedings out across like 3 to 5 meals per day or feedings. But in the big picture, just ensure that you're eating a high quality protein source, whether that be from whey isolate, whey concentrate, or just a regular whey protein. In my opinion, just pick the cheapest one. It's not really, as long as it has a good leucine or amino acid profile, then it won't make that much of a difference. Trust me, I've never really paid attention to getting in whey concentrate or whey isolate. I just picked whatever was the cheapest and I roll with that. At the end of the day, it's more important or most important to get your protein requirements for the day, whether that be 1 gram per pound of body weight or a little bit over that. Generally, I wouldn't recommend going below that, but whatever floats your boat. So yeah, in my opinion, don't really pay too much attention to it. As long as you get in a whey protein that has a good leucine profile and a good amino acid profile, then you'll probably be fine and you'll make gains. Tips to eat more without force feeding. I actually have pretty much a complete video on this, especially regarding hard gainers who have trouble gaining weight and have trouble getting in the calories. But the main thing, or the easiest way to counter this, is just by eating low voluminous foods that have a lot of calories. So things like peanut butter, dried fruit, cereals, making your own mass gainer shake with oatmeal, peanut butter, whey, or getting a mass gainer shake or whatever. You have to somewhat stray away from the thought that you only have to eat clean, because getting in some junk food might make the difference in you making the results that you want or not. Because you have to gain some weight in order to actually build some new muscle tissue. But in general, just pick low voluminous foods that don't have a lot of calories for the amount of food that you're getting. So low volume, high calorie foods. Do you agree on having a specific arm day after push-pull legs for bigger arms? Not necessarily. Arm volume can pretty much be achieved on a regular push-pull leg split as long as you have it with a 2 times per week frequency. So having 2 runs of push-pull legs in the week. So push-pull legs off, or push-pull legs, and then an off day. If you do it correctly, you can easily be able to get your volume threshold for the week. If you're not able to do that and arms are a weak point of view and you want to specifically grow your arms, then by all means add an extra arm day, just as long as you're taking into mind that you're recovering well and that you can hit the next session, so most likely your push session, effectively, since doing too much tricep work into one session can make it so that it takes longer for your tricep to recover, and that might inhibit the amount of force that you can deliver during the bench press, for example. So take in mind of your recovery, and that's probably your best bet. Stay hydrated. Thoughts on training with the RIR method and how to use them like Dr. Mike Israetel? Very good question, because I'm actually going to be experimenting with this when my deload is over in a couple of days. My thoughts on it, it makes sense. We need to overload during our meso cycles, which can last anywhere from 1 to 8 weeks in my opinion. Some can go on longer, some might need shorter times. It all depends on the individual. So it makes sense to not completely go balls to the wall right after your deload and actually building up as you go on through your training cycle. So the most common method is starting with 3 or 4 reps in reserve in week 1, then 2 or 3 reps in reserve on week 2, and then going lower in reps in reserve, so going further to 0 reps in reserve in the last week of your mesocycle, in order to not accumulate or build up too much fatigue or systemic fatigue early on in your training cycle, so that you can continue to progress during all of your mesocycles and not need to deload like every 3 or 4 weeks. Trust me, I've been there, as I've now been using a logbook, and I pushed myself way too hard. And after 4 weeks, I already noticed that I needed to deload, simply because I was accumulating way too much fatigue and actually inhibiting the amount of progression that I could have made if I were to train with reps in reserve. So, good question, and I'll leave some thoughts in my next coming videos, as I'm going to be experimenting with this and trying this out for myself. But my thoughts, it makes sense. How to better feel your back muscles during training. This is a pretty common phenomenon, especially since it's not a show muscle. You can't really virtually see it in the mirror. You can't really physically see it in the mirror as you're training it, unlike with chest and biceps and shoulders, for example. So it's pretty hard to get that mind-muscle connection with the back. The main thing, or the most important thing that you need to take in mind, is how you're performing your exercises and actually being mindful of the movements that you're making. So for example, if you're doing a lat pull down, you can pull the weight down and go through the eccentric motion of the movement again and reach your set and rep target pretty easily. But you need to take in mind that once you pull the weight down, you need to feel and, like I said, be conscious of the muscles that you're putting under tension. So quick example, if I'm doing a lat pull down, if I'm pulling the weight back, I'm actually thinking of all of the muscles that I'm putting under tension and contracting, and then slowly letting the weight rise back up again, going through the eccentric motion of the movement and feeling the stretch right here. And even now that I'm doing it just with body weight, I can feel my back contracting and stretching out. And just things like practicing posing, so doing a front lat spread, actually feeling your lats sticking out and feeling the muscles being under tension can definitely help you during your training and get more bang for your buck during your pulling movements. So definitely be mindful of the mind-muscle connection. It's not that it's the only important aspect to gaining muscle or doing your movements efficiently, but it plays a huge role in the amount of muscular activation that you're getting, since every muscle has a neurological connection with it. If we cannot think about the muscles that we're contracting or be mindful of the muscles that we're training, how are we actually activating them? So that plays a huge role. Just think about the muscles that you're training. Same goes for your delts, your triceps, your biceps, your chest, ab training, leg training. Think about the muscles that you're training. Actually feel the muscles doing the work, and that will translate potentially in some more hypertrophy. Can you achieve a well-developed physique with light scoliosis? Interesting question. I think you have to be very mindful of the movements that you're able to do. So for example, if you have scoliosis, I can imagine that you have some trouble with squats or pretty much any type of compound movement. So be mindful of the things that you are able to do and what you're not able to do, and definitely just skip the movements that you're not able to do because they're not worth the potential injury that you might be causing because of scoliosis. But again, the main priority, the main focus point that we need to focus on if we want to develop our physiques and grow our muscles is to overload the muscles that we're training. You can do that with numerous amounts of exercises. There are no single must-do exercises when it comes to bodybuilding. If you're a powerlifter, you have to do the big 3 because it's part of your sport-specific requirements. If you're a bodybuilder or you're simply just focused or interested in developing your physique, hell man, do the exercises that allow you to target the muscles. And if you can't do that with a squat, you might be able to do that with a hack squat or even a leg press, as you're putting tension on the muscles that you want to develop and train. You can definitely achieve a well-developed physique, man, as long as you apply the necessary principles. So overloading the exercise, adding some volume, having your volume threshold high enough to actually stimulate enough muscle fibers and hypertrophy, and yeah, you can develop a good physique. If you could choose any bodybuilder to do a workout with, who would it be? I think I would have 2 main choices. It would either be Jeff Nippert, because I've learned so much from him in terms of the scientific aspects to bodybuilding, and Matt August, because he's pretty much the one person that I've learned the most from when I started lifting myself. Very much look up to that guy, and it would be very interesting to just take note of their lifting philosophy and just try to learn and take away as much things from them when I'm training with them as possible. Don't know if that might ever happen. I've met Jeff Nippert once, a very humble guy. He actually recognized me from the comments that I left under his video when I met him at Vivo last year, I believe. And such a humble dude. And yeah, those would be my two main options, definitely. Did you take a deload week right after your show or continued as usual? I continued training pretty hard. I probably should have taken it a little bit more easy, simply because my body was freaking sore as hell from doing all the posing. I was sore in places that I never felt soreness before, or I felt muscles that I never even knew that were there. But I continued as usual. The only thing that I did do is I went easy on the compounds. Like, I didn't squat for the first week or two after my show, so I stuck to leg press, simply because, yeah, that wouldn't have been a smart idea. And I didn't do the overhead press because during my prep I hurt my left or right trap. I can't really remember, once while overhead pressing.
That's hurt my trap. And it is because yesterday I had my overhead press workout. After that overhead press, or during the overhead press, I did something wrong, most likely, and there's a huge knot in my upper traps.
And I went over this with my physical therapist and bro Ruben, and he also said, like, it probably isn't a smart idea to do those exercises with a lower body fat, simply because you're more prone to injury. So I stuck to the dumbbell shoulder presses for that time, and I did went ham, man. It's a weird mental switch, especially when you go from doing everything in your power to get as lean as possible for a specific event, or a bodybuilding show in this case. You know that it's probably better to take it easy, but for some reason you're still in that give it your all zone. So I didn't really take it right away, but it took me some weeks, I believe 4 or 5 weeks if I'm not mistaken, and then I noticed, like, okay man, take it easy, take a chill pill, and take the deload week. I'm able to go to the gym 4 days per week. What is the best split? In my opinion, a upper-lower split would be a solid choice, since you can split your upper and your lower into 4 days per week, so you get your 2 times per week frequency, and you can distribute the volume pretty evenly as well and still reach your targets. What's your favorite exercise for the hamstrings? I'd say the dumbbell stiff-legged deadlifts and the lying hamstring curl. How many exercises per muscle group are optimal in your training split? This depends. I'd say around 2 to 3 exercises per muscle group would be sufficient, but then I'm pretty much biased on a upper-lower split. So if you're doing a push-pull legs, you might be able to do like 3 or 4. Just be mindful that you're not doing too much or too many sets per muscle group per workout, and that is most likely going to be the 10 sets threshold, because otherwise you might accumulate a little bit too much fatigue on a specific muscle group, or even too much systemic fatigue, which will inhibit your performance for the next workout, whether it be from the same muscle group or the next workout in terms of systemic fatigue, so that you don't perform as well as you potentially could be doing. Alright guys, I'm going to be keeping it at these questions for now, since the time is running a little bit on the longer side. So I really enjoyed answering all of your questions, and again, follow me on Instagram if you want to leave your questions regarding whatever topic you want, and I will answer them in the next Q&A session. So that is it for this video guys. I sincerely hope you all enjoyed. If you did and you want to see more, please smash the like button, because it really helps out the channel grow. Comment down below and subscribe to the channel for so much more content coming really soon. I'm out guys, and peace out. See you in the next one.